Hello. It's 4:20. Let's get high. So, I have a little surprise later, but for now, I want to continue reading my book that could be out by the end of the week, Sex, a Metaphor to History. And Trump 777 and the 1,000 Years of Woman, which is basically a discourse on time, redefining time. So I want to get right into it. I'm going to try to do like a chapter a day. So it's about probably 40 chapters, something like that. You know, I want to leave time so if people have questions they want to ask, be a good time, to ask them. See, that way I don't have to actually talk for half an hour. And, it's easier to read. And I must admit, I'm enjoying what I'm reading. I think as a writer, if you can't enjoy what you read, I don't see why anyone else would enjoy it. All right. Part 1, Chapter 1. Sex and time are intertwined. In fact, Jewish law encourages man to time his orgasm with his mate's orgasm by holding back his male energy during sex, trying to reach orgasm conjointly. Given the original sexual metaphor in the making of creation, an empty space pierced by a line of light delivering the seed of life, we should not be surprised to find a sexual component throughout creation, including the 7,000 year cycle dedicated to human history on planet Earth. As seen through the intrinsic structure refined from the tree of life, which is planted upside down with roots pointed up into heaven, while the branches point down to the earth. The human being mimics this design with our heads in the heavens and our bodies rooted in the ground. The primordial seed cast by the Creator into the abyss grew into a tree whose fruits are scattered throughout creation. The Torah, which means teaching, of the Jewish people begins with an account of the first 7 days of creation relating to the 7 lower components of the tree of life, known as Zera Anpin, small faces, is a prototype to the 7 days of creation and the subsequent 7,000 years, likened to 7 chapters in a book. The creation of the first human being, who was originally formed androgynous, is the genesis of the 6,000 year calendar, beginning on the 6th day of creation, leading to the 7th day of rest, celebrating woman. This time, merging 6 into 7, is known by the ancients as the end of days, end of the 6,000 year male agenda. In 1970, this original human calendar, dating from the 6th day of creation, reached 5,730 years, the half-life of carbon-14, used in dating ancient artifacts. This demarcation line, happening towards the end of the male cycle of 6,000 years, left 260 years until the actual merging from for the final 1,000 years of woman and peace. Those experiencing the 60s, high on hallucinogenic drugs, unanimously gave witness to the end of something by staging a huge party in Bethel, New York in 1969. Woodstock was the final spastic ejaculation beginning this long awaited transition from man to woman. The 6 days of creation, the prototype, preparing man to ultimately merge with woman during the 260-year transitional juncture is paramount to understanding the dramatic radical changes occurring in the world at this time 50 years later. Each day of creation corresponds to the gematria of God's ineffable name, Yud-He-Vav-He. We are 26,000 light years from the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way, the Milky Way. The sun appears to rotate around the North Star every 26,000 years, and the earth quakes every 26 seconds. From the four letters of Yud-He-Vav-He can made the three tenses Hoyu, Hobe, Yihya, past, present, future. The sixth day of creation corresponding to the attributes of man, known by the term Yisod, foundation, a term founded from the word sod, secret, is reflected in the human body as sex, the foundational secret to the human being. The 6,000th year in the human calendar began with the invention of the printing press 700 years ago. The printing press in that time was as revolutionary as the computer and the internet in our time. Both represent a transitional period caused by the sudden revelation of critical information. The time of secret began 7 centuries ago with the mechanical invention able to record, transmit, and archive information, facts, data, figures, knowledge, details, evidence, findings, insight, intelligence, particulars, statistics, clues, and wisdom. We are presently at 2020 in Roman time, more than 3/4 into this final phase of male development before officially merging with woman in 220 years. When the 6,000-year calendar reaches completion, 3 years ago, the eclipse of the sun on August 21st, 2017, on the cusp of Virgo, marked the inception to this transition between the waning male dominance and the rising Mayim Nukvim, female waters. The Roman Empire, as embodied in their 2,000-year Roman calendar, is the epitome of male energy expressed through religion and war, whose fulcrum is undeniably in the United States of America. War is a very male endeavor, as is the economy and the stuffing of religion down the throats of the unwilling. The wealth of America boggles the mind. Gold buying pleasure instead of purpose. Happiness has become a new spirituality. If you are happy, you made it to heaven on earth. This self-indulgent attitude is similar to a man having sex for his own pleasure A very Roman attitude demanding man's desire comes first. The first 6,000 years of creation are dedicated to the completion of man, a man who will hold woman above himself, so woman can then crown the man. To better understand the profound depth of sexuality necessitates revisiting the original conceptual beginning of creation portrayed in the letter Yud, the first letter of the Yud He Vav He, resembling the opening at the end of the penis. This tiny letter with an accompanied value of 10 is engraved into the quiescent radiance shining out from the Creator, making a disturbance resulting in black holes. From the friction of the engraving twisting into the Or Ein Sof, light without end, a hard light, after 250,000 years exploding into lines of liquid light, was suddenly stopped at the command of the Creator. The name Shaddai said enough with a gematria of 314, the first three digits found at the head of the infinite array of random numbers known as pi, is the interloper between the line and the curve. The beams of light shot forth from the black hole, creating space, also created time. Time and space have symbiotic have a symbiotic relationship, since time is the measurement of motion through space happening because the Creator continually creates creation moment after moment. The nature of creation is not to be created, requiring a creator to bring the potential into actuality. The same pattern exists each moment, moving creation bit by bit through a slight juxtaposition. Without the constant support of the Creator, creating moment by moment, all of creation would melt back into the abyss of nothing, because the nature of creation is not to exist. The ubiquitous invocation of God's name during sex is witness to the intense connection between the Creator and creation, since sex is completely beyond logic. The essential elements to sex are will and pleasure, the two most chaotic human abilities, laid bare during sex. As naked desire, only the human being can be naked. The concept of nudity traces back to the original foreskin covering the letter Yud at the end of the penis. And man was embarrassed, so he hid himself. Women wear clothes for a different reason than man. Women wear clothes to shield or enhance the form of their bodies. Men wear clothes to hide. Since man produces sperm through his eyes, the engineered curves and contours of woman designed by the Creator induces desire, since man is often seduced by what he sees. Thus, men are always looking at women, who in turn are constantly concerned about their looks. Women are more vulnerable to what they hear, therefore being easily seduced by voice or the softly spoken words murmuring promises and lies. Women are more malleable than men because their objective in sex is to get the sperm. Women are non-judgmental, doing whatever is needed to draw the energy down. Her enticement to him, the body of woman, is more important to the man, but the energy of man is more important to the woman. The more the man holds back his sexual urge to explode out, the greater is his energy and the more righteous is his state of being. Ejaculation is compared to the arrow in the bow. The further back the string of the bow is drawn, the further forward and with more vitality is the arrow shot forth. The same paradigm is engaged at the onset of creation, causing infinite arrows of light suddenly stopped, then turned into dots of stars before reverberating into broken waves in a tempestuous sea, moving at the speed of light. It was in this cosmic soup, a composite of primordial liquid, that the earth was conceived and life began. The first human being was made from water and clay, kneaded together to form a body, then the soul, made from fire and air, was blown into the nose of the autumn to give him life. The reason for creation was to create a human being with freedom of choice so God can be known in love. But first, the human being had to be assessed. So God took the soul of Adam, male and female, to the Garden of Eden to test the man, leaving the physical body to roam the earth as the human animal devoid of the human soul. Meanwhile, the soul is taken to the outer rim of the solar system, where in the Garden of Eden, man is told not to eat from the tree of life, lest he relinquish his soul back to the Creator. Once in the Garden of Eden, woman was taken from within man. He loved her at once, having seen all the animals with mates. Now he too had a mate. Wanting to protect his mate, Adam told her eating from the tree of life or even touching the tree of life will bring on death. Subsequently, the serpent came, saw the two having sex, and wanted the woman. Later, the serpent engaged the woman in speech and eventually pushed her against the tree of life. She did not die. The man became suspect in the woman's eyes because he had lied to her, saying she would not die if she touched the tree, enticing her to eat the fruit. Maybe she thought the serpent was right because the fruit opened her eyes. She gave the fruit to the man and also ate, and his eyes also opened. Later, God asked them, "Why did you eat from the tree of life?" And the man said, "The woman gave the fruit to him. So he ate it." The woman said, the snake tricked her. The serpent had nothing to say, and as a result, would have to go legless, eating the dust from the ground. God rebuked man for being weak and wiping his hands on the woman. Then asked the woman why she gave the fruit to the man. The woman admitted she did not want to die and the man marry another woman. So she poisoned him with the fruit. So she poisoned him with the fruit. The man was weak and the woman was vindictive. God wanted to kill the man right then, but the man repented what he had done. So God gave the man 1,000 years of life to return to the earth and began the 6,000-year process of picking up the sparks which had fallen. As a result of man's actions in the Garden of Eden, as a result of man's actions in the Garden of Eden. So, with his newly forged foreskin, man returned to the earth from where he was made 130 years later to unite with his woman. In those first years, the main vocation of man was to have sex with his women. Each man was born with at least one mate. The great pleasure visited upon man in the Garden of Eden is reenacted over and over to ensure later generations. The human animal merged the knowledge of survival into modern man. Now there was now that was man. Now there was sex, and lots of sex. 1,500 years later, because the world was covered with sperm, even on rocks and trees, the Creator decided to bring a flood and clean everything up after these first 10 extraordinary generations. Every human being is a composite of the human animal combined with the human soul, oftentimes in opposition. The body wants sex to procreate, but the soul wants sex to get closer to God because the androgynous nature of the unified human being is meant to meld into the oneness of the Creator. Each person is a blend of these qualities, harboring unique capabilities. Truly, everyone is a genius, but few find their trade in life. What makes the human being different from the animal is our ability to articulate thoughts into words and to practice freedom of choice. There is no bigger challenge to man than the urge to be sexual. Man learns at an early age how to calm male sexual ambitions by diverting the mind, which seems odd at first glance. I mean, what malfunction ties together the mind with the penis? The mind is tied to every part of the body, which reacts like an obedient servant, except the penis, which seems to have a mind of its own, getting hard at inappropriate times. To better understand this phenomenon, we must delve into the esoteric meaning of the number 666. All right, that's good. You know, it's hard for me. I find in here errors, and I think, oh my goodness, why didn't I go over it again? It's terrible. It's the hardest thing about reading your stuff. It's just terrible. Anyways, I had a chance and I didn't do it anyways. But I wanted just to share that I bought myself a little present today, and it's called Samik Vav. So here it is. It's a good book. And it's the letters actually Tav Resh Samik Vav, which doesn't mean anything except as a number. Tav is 400, Resh is 200, Samik is 60, and Vav is 6, which makes 666. It's interesting. We just finished a chapter about 6, heading into 666. And this book, which was written over 3 years, but was begun the Rosh Hashanah of 666. I have a very big connection with this book because when I first got into Torah, and after a year I had to leave for different reasons, and I knew I would never be able to read all the books. I just wouldn't have the time, the ability. So I asked someone, "What's the one book that that you would suggest that I should learn?" He said Samik Vav. And Samik Vav was written, we actually have a picture here of the Rebbe. He lived like in the 1800s, the late 1800s. And he was he began a school where others, Rebbe, they taught. He was just devoted to the school, and he wrote just a huge amount. He was really just, he's just such a teacher. And one of the things, one of the things that why it's so meaningful to me, because this the year was, it just says 666, but the year actually was 5,666, which that's the beginning of my serial number, my social security number, which I always think is pretty cool. Plus Einstein, he revealed E equals mc squared a week before Rosh Hashanah, 5,666. And here's the thing. See, the 1,000 years from 5,000 to 6,000 are like the last. See, that's ending six. That ends at 6,000. We're 5,780. So we got 220 years to go until the end. But in every 1,000-year period, there is a culmination point, and that culmination point, it kind of spirals, and then it spirals again, like within 500 years this way and 500 years then going out or going in. It would be 400 years going out, and then 500 years going in. And when it gets to its highest point, it's not at 500, it's at 666. And this is when the flood came to the earth at 1,666. Actually, it came 1,656, but God said, because they knew when it was coming, so God said, I'll bring it to 10 years earlier. So that's why it didn't actually happen then, but it was supposed to happen. That's when it was dated to happen, because the 666 is the culmination of each time. And the culmination of that time brought about not just the writing of this and Einstein's revelation of the essence of light, and as the same year was the massive earthquake in San Francisco, which is a prophecy from the native people there, and also the Zohar was first translated into Hebrew in that year by a Canadian rabbi. And anyway, so this book I have learned many times, and I kind of felt I was feeling like I needed something to learn at night. Somehow I don't like writing at night. I don't like learning Zohar at night. So I don't know what to do with myself at night. And then I thought, Samach Vav, I always learned it at night. And, after days, you learn Samach Vav. And so I'm very happy to have Samach Vav back in my life again. And it's just something, there's certain books that they just talk to you. And it's been a while since I have learned this. I had to give my books up a few years ago because I just couldn't carry them around any longer. And but that's fine. They've made this new copy, and in this new copy, they have put a Maimar Makomo saying where, because oftentimes he'll quote, and if you don't know where he's quoting from, there's no way to know. And here's who they put down below the text. So they put here footnotes, which the original didn't have. It was just pure text with a period maybe once every couple of pages. It just went like this ocean. And at first, when I started to learn it, I just couldn't remember anything. But like all things, you get used to it, and pretty soon, I was riding the waves. So anyways, thank you very much for listening and watching, whatever. See you tomorrow. We'll get high together. All right. Bye.